Based on this kind of a type of test, let's say the mental age versus chronological age, which the psychometric tests are not. This is why we had to develop them. It's all fine when you're doing this kind of, in younger ages. But let's say you had somebody who is 85 years old. So their chronological age is 85. Their mental age is 25. That's good. I would like to have an IQ or the ability of 25 mental age at 85. That's a good thing. But based on this ratio, their IQ would be 29. Right? It doesn't make any sense when you get over a certain value in the denominator, and it won't because it's based on a ratio. So as the denominator here gets larger, the IQ gets smaller and smaller. So it doesn't make any sense to use this. So the psychometric approach is much better because now what we do is we have a different scale for every age group. So the weights, actually, you have to be trained in how to score it because starting at 17 years old, you're going to look and see where you fall. And your score doesn't come out with 115 or 110. You have to calculate this. And sometimes it takes a half an hour to develop all the scores that you get on the subtests. And then you have to weight them and then transform them. So it's a bit of a process to do. But if you were to use this same kind of procedure with people of all age groups, it wouldn't be fair. Because someone who was 85 or 70 or even 50 or 30 even, compared to somebody who is 20, would look demented anyway, would look below average anyway, because they are being compared against people who have higher fluid intelligence, right? So what the WAIST does is it has a separate set of norms. So in other words, a separate normal distribution for different age groups. Let's say one from 17 to 21, one from 22 to 27. And these are off the top of my head, but there's about a 5 or 6 year range for all the different age groups, all the way up to 85 years old. So 50 to 55 and so on, right? That way you're being compared against your peer group because it wouldn't be fair to compare someone older against someone younger. So each one will have their own average of 100 and then where you fall relative to your particular group, okay? So the psychometric approach, again, is going to be standardized tests. And again, looking at individual differences because each individual will fall somewhere on this continuum, all right? These mean that it's orders. So where you fall relative to everybody else will put you above the norm or below the norm. So it's very evaluative. And this is, again, some of the controversy with the IQ because they can be taken to be more of a pragmatic thing. In other words, slotting you into a certain category academically based on your IQ. So, again, this is some of the issues that were brought up in the school system when they have these different levels, grade 7A, B, C, and D. Grade 7A were the students who had the higher IQ. 7B would be, somebody who was more, within the normal range. 7C might be a little bit below. And 7D, of course, not intellectually challenged, but, not doing as well on these tests. And some of the concern was that it has nothing to do with intelligence, that it may have a lot to do with poverty, with, initiative, motivation. And again, being slotted in one of these groups is going to affect how well you do in the future. You think, well, why? I'm labeled stupid. Maybe I can't learn. Why should I bother even trying? They're all psychometric tests. Every one of them are because they have to place you along a continuum to see where you are. Yeah. In isolation, the test means nothing. So if I test you on something and I get a score, it's meaningless unless I plot it against a pile of other people. And the GREs, the MCATs, the LSATs, all of these work the same way. They place you on a continuum, right? They pretty much work on percentiles instead of percentages, though, which is a percentage is, okay, out of 100, right? So you got 98 percentage, means you got 98 out of 100. Percentile's different. You could actually score a 98 percentile if you got 55 on a test. How does that work? Anybody here in stats? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. A percentile is a percentage of people who scored lower than you. So if you were taking, let's say, the GREs or the MCATs, and they were very, very difficult, and you scored 75%, you could actually have a score that is 98 percentile, meaning 98% of the people got below your 75. So you're in the top. And that's how these scores are converted into percentiles. And that gives you an indication of where you are relative to the people who took the test that day. Okay? Make sense? So again, some of these IQ tests were used to keep some people out of certain, scholastic experiences or classes, or to put them into a higher level. And I talked to some students who were in both, and it's not a great thing, especially even when you're in the higher ones. You may feel that you don't belong there, and it can put more pressure on you. So some people try to do badly so that they don't get put into those higher levels where a lot of stress is placed on them. Scholarships, all these kinds of things, right, are pragmatic, meaning that they're applied in the academic setting.